Hey, what's going on, guys? This is the Club of the Man 1993 coming at you live once again for another live stream, pretty much. It's Friday night. You know, I have really nothing to do tonight, so I thought I'd come up here and do a nice little long stream. Well, not a little long stream, but a nice live stream here discussing the rumored superstar shakeup that is rumored to happen after SummerSlam in just a few weeks. Personally, I think that it might not be a good idea to do another superstar shakeup because we just had one right after WrestleMania, and in my opinion, it did kind of hurt the product. So I think if they do go with a superstar shakeup, I don't think too many people are going to be moved around on the rosters. Like there was like 10 trades that they had at the superstar shakeup on the week after WrestleMania. So I think if they do another shakeup, they're going to swap like 5 people from each brand. However, though, there has been room to be a twist to this as well, as some superstars on the main roster could be sent down to NXT as well. So I think that makes things a little bit more interesting. So this video response is kind of a response to my friend Daniel Giza's video. He did this about a week or so ago, talking about this as well. But he just talked about the top 5 people he would like to see, or he thinks should go down to NXT, where I am going to not just talk about the top 5 people I think should go on NXT, but I'm going to also share who I think is going to go to Raw, who I think is going to go to SmackDown, and also who do I think has a chance of being released. So we have 4 top 5s right here coming up. And there are some people that I'm predicting to be called up from NXT. We'll see if it happens. If not, you know, oh well. But this is just my predictions. Again, sit back, relax, leave your thoughts in the live chat as well, participate as well, and let's have some fun here. So first, I'm going to talk about who from SmackDown I think is going to go over to Monday Night Raw, or who could be called up to Monday Night Raw. Now, just a spoiler alert, for both Raw and SmackDown, I only have 4 people swapping places. 4 from Raw, 4 from SmackDown, and then one of them I each predicted a call up from NXT. So we'll see how these go. And once again, as I said before, leave your thoughts in the live chat as well. So for Raw, I have coming to Raw from SmackDown. First, I have Natalya. Now, Natalya right now is involved in a feud for SummerSlam with Naomi for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. However, I mean, I think it could be a good match, but I think it's a feud that has a couple, you know, solid veterans in there in Natalya and Naomi. And Natalya has been someone who has done really well on SmackDown. I view her as the Chris Jericho of the women's division because she's not someone that I always want to win, but she's done a good job with helping putting over younger talent, fresh talent, and like she can get like a win here and there, and she can be thrown into a title hunt here and there as well. But I think if I want anybody to switch in the women's division on SmackDown, it would probably have to be her because Charlotte still being on SmackDown is fresh. Becky Lynch, I feel like she has a little bit more left on SmackDown, but I think by 2018 we'll be seeing Becky going to Raw. Carmella still has her ways to go on SmackDown. Lana, I want to keep her on SmackDown. We put her on Raw. No, don't even get me started there because of how bland Raw's women's division continues to be. Tamina, again, same case. Well, Lana, I don't want to get lost in stuff, but Tamina, I could care less about. I mean, if you want to put her on Raw, though, just so she gets lost in the shuffle like everybody else, then, I mean, I wouldn't be too bad. But I think someone who can actually help the Raw women's division because of how credible she's been on SmackDown is Natalya. Is there anybody else I missed? I was mentioning in the list. But yeah, that's my first move to Raw would be Natalya. My second move over to Raw. Now, this one's going to sound like a little lame. Again, like most of these moves over from Raw to SmackDown, SmackDown to Raw aren't really, you know, going to be as big as some of the ones in the Superstar Shakeup after WrestleMania. But I think that, you know, this is the best we're going to get. So another move that I think this guy is either going to be moved to Raw or released because to me, he's just taking up a spot on SmackDown. He's not being used at all. Is Sin Cara. And why I say that, because you can put him back on Raw, possibly have a Lucha Dragons reunion, have him and Kalisto get back together to form more depth in the Raw tag team division. Or, if not, put both him and Kalisto on 205 Live or I'm not gonna say that because I want that should be canceled. Put them in the cruiserweight division as well, because if not, these guys are gonna do nothing. And honestly, like, Kalisto, if Kalisto's not gonna be used, he can probably go back down to NXT. But Sin Cara, I think, has run his time in WWE as much as he could. There's nothing really for Sin Cara to do, and I've never really been that huge of a Sin Cara fan, so I think he would probably get released. But if he stays on SmackDown, he's going to continue to waste space. I don't think I've seen him once since he moved over to SmackDown in the Superstar Shakeup at all. But I think if you put him on Raw again, you can either put him and Kalisto back together, or you can put them both in the cruiserweight division to give them something to do. So my second move would have to be Sin Cara. My third move would have to be a tag team I picked. And the only tag team I could think of on SmackDown Live that I think would be good to be traded would have to be the Usos. They're probably going to wrap up their feud with the New Day at SummerSlam. I'm hoping for some type of stipulation. I put a TLC stipulation on their match in my updated SummerSlam card predictions. So if you guys didn't see that yet, you guys can check that out. It just got uploaded last night. But I think, besides the Usos, what other team on SmackDown Live you think is really worthy of moving over to Raw and wouldn't get hurt by the move? The New Day are champs. They just got the SmackDown. They need fresh opponents. Breezango is just killing on SmackDown. Don't move them. The Hype Brothers, depends if they're going to break up or not. The Ascension, they're not going to do anything with them. So, what's the difference putting them on Raw? And the Colognes haven't been seen on SmackDown for ages, and there's been rumors of them possibly getting released. So, I feel like I might have missed someone else, but I cannot remember. I'm sorry. But I feel like the team that would benefit, at least be worth being moved over to Raw, I think, would be the Usos. Give them some fresh opponents. They can feud with the Hardy Boys. Or, heck, I don't know about Sheamus and Cesaro, since there's a lot of heels and most of the face teams aren't really fresh. Or they could even feud with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose if they do temporarily form a tag team that help add some depth into the tag team division. Or if they eventually decide to turn Roman Reigns heel, they can form that heel stable with him, that Roman Empire heel stable that a lot of people, especially my friends, have predicted. So I'm all for the Usos moving over to Raw if you want to move any tag teams around. Also going over to Raw, I have Dolph Ziggler. There really isn't. Here's the thing: Raw has a ton of superstar power. Wow. Raw has a ton of star power. SmackDown doesn't really have as much. It have some people have gotten better over the last few weeks, but I don't think SmackDown could afford to lose anybody huge like an AJ Styles or or Randy Orton. Randy Orton was somebody who I'd be okay with moving over to Raw, but despite the fact that he's been kind of bland and boring lately, that's another reason too. But I still think that, if he can, actually try, Orton could put on some good matches on SmackDown. So I'd still say keep Orton on SmackDown. I didn't include John Cena in my list going over to Raw, even though he's probably going to be starting to work people on Raw, because he is rumored to be on the Raw exclusive pay-per-view next month, No Mercy. But I still view him as someone who's going to work both Raw and SmackDown, being the free agent that he is or whatever, saying that he wants to, work people on both shows. That's why, he just got done working with Rusev. Well, it didn't go too well. It was like he's going to have a match with Baron Corbin. But anyways, Dolph Ziggler, I think, was the only person that I saw that, I'd be okay with Dolph moving over, because it's going to allow somebody else to come back over, come over to SmackDown and be used better than how Dolph has been. Because Dolph turned heel, and yeah, it's what we wanted, but they really haven't done anything much different with him since they turned him heel. As I keep saying, it kind of made sense to turn Dolph heel, because do most of us really even care or think he's going to really ever, get another world championship shot again. So it kind of makes sense because no one's really going to be that invested in him. But I feel like, you know, they've at least done what they could with him as a heel, and putting him on Raw. I mean, it's how I felt at first when the brand split first happened back in 2016. How I wasn't too crazy at first with Dolph being on SmackDown, because I thought since SmackDown didn't have as big of a roster, I felt that he could just be, you know, getting in the way of someone else who could be worth having his spot on SmackDown and actually, you know, doing something. Where Dolph, like, if he goes on to Raw, I feel like he could, like, you know, clear up some space for someone on SmackDown to get some type of momentum going. And he could, you know, at least help some people and be involved in some star power matches on Raw, or even, you know, help some, like, the lower card talent out. So that's why I say Dolph Ziggler goes over to Raw. Now, those are the 4 people I think are going to switch over from SmackDown to Raw, which those 4 are Natalya, Sin Cara, the Usos, and Dolph Ziggler. The 5th person I have is from NXT. Now, here's the thing. I only have 2 predictions for people coming from NXT, because I don't want NXT to literally, like, send up all this talent like they did at the draft and literally have to go through a rebuilding stage again. Because NXT has just gotten back on track to, like, how it was before the draft last year. Which, I mean, they were still good after the draft, but not as good as they used to be. And I don't want to see them go through that stage again, because they've picked up a lot of momentum and it can really help bring out some competition for Raw and SmackDown on the main roster as well. So at first, I actually had this person on SmackDown, and the person that I think is going to get called up from NXT on Raw. However, I was confused because, you know, SmackDown needs more depth, but Raw and SmackDown also has somebody I really want this person to eventually have a match with. It's my dream match for this division. However, though, I feel like this person is more needed on Raw right now because of the division that they are a part of. A lot of stuff is kind of repetitive, and the depth is really lacking because they don't, you know, do anything with anybody but 3 other people, maybe 4. So that's why I have Asuka being called up after SummerSlam, despite probably, as I'm still predicting, she's probably going to drop her title to Ember Moon, get her rematch down the line somewhere. But in order to, you know, have a couple people from NXT come up, and of course some people are going to be going down at NXT, even though there's probably more people going on NXT than coming up from NXT. You know, it's going to be okay because it's going to actually give people something to do on the shows and not be sitting out every week like some people do. But Asuka can really help the women's division get fresh. You know, I'm sure, you know, she'll have matches with, you know, either Alexa Bliss, which could be fresh, Sasha Banks, Nia Jax. Well, she's facing Nia Jax before, so that's not too fresh. If they have Natalya. If Paige is rumored to be coming back, then I wouldn't mind seeing Asuka versus Paige, but I really want to see Asuka versus Charlotte. And that's the reason why I think that they've been trying to, like, move Charlotte Ward over to as a face character since she was moved over to SmackDown, even though I still don't think Charlotte is as good as a face. I think she's much stronger as a heel. But since Asuka, you know, is that the iron is hot for Asuka as a heel right now, I think she could be a you know, more capable of helping doing things than others, and helping boost the depth and the credibility in the Raw women's division. So that's why I think Asuka will be called up, but she will go to Raw for now. But one day, I want to see Asuka fight Charlotte. It needs to happen. So again, my 5 people I think are going to go over to Raw from SmackDown, and of course the one person from NXT is going to be called up going to Raw, are Natalya, Sin Cara, the Usos, Dolph Ziggler, and Asuka. So now let's go over to SmackDown Live. Who from Raw do I think is going to go the SmackDown Live, and who from NXT do I think is going to be called up to be on SmackDown Live? I'd say that part's kind of obvious, but so here's what I have. So for the women's division, the only person that I saw moving over from SmackDown to Raw was Natalya. Who would I trade Natalya for? Well, I think the best choice is someone who I think should either go to SmackDown or go back down to NXT. But I think she's more likely to just switch brands, and that's Emma. I think Emma can fill Natalia's shoes, except for the fact that probably, get more wins and not quite be like, that veteran helping put younger talent over. Emma is someone who just needs to get some momentum going. And it's been unfortunate because Emma, came up to the main roster a couple years ago with that whole goofy dance gimmick. And she went out with Santino Marella. She, I believe, got arrested and was released from WWE, but then came back later, went back down to NXT, reinvented her character as the evil Emma character, which works so much better. It's like I can look at Emma now and I can completely forget about that joke of a character she was. And they brought her back up to the main roster. She suffered a back injury not too long after she was brought back up. They looked like they were going to continue her pairing with Dana Brooke. But then, of course, when Emma got hurt, they kept showing these vignettes for her starting in the fall, and it went on for 17 weeks of her debuting this new Emmalina character, which I'm like, why are we doing this? She doesn't need this. And then apparently it wasn't working out for Emma as the Emmalina character. So they pretty much had her come out and pretty much say, now you're going to wait for a transformation of Emmalina back to Emma. So, but it didn't take as long for actual Emma to come back. She came back the night after WrestleMania, but they haven't really done much with her. It looked like they were going to go in some weird feud with her and Dana Brooke, since Dana Brooke had turned face, and after she finally split from being Charlotte's protege. But they haven't done much with her since, and she just got squashed on Raw last week by Nia Jax. Very unfortunate that had to happen to her. I mean, they did mention something about Emma saying, what would I have to do, saying the curtain, what would I have to do, date your illegitimate son. But I don't think they're really going to go anywhere with that. As I've myself love stories in WWE to me have not really worked out too well. Well, most of them in the past have, but most of the recent ones really haven't. But I think that Emma can really benefit from moving over to SmackDown Live. I think they will actually make her feel legitimate, like they have done with Natalya. And I think she could, probably excel a little bit more than Natalya did on SmackDown Live. Still Natalya is still credible, but Emma's one who's definitely going to be on there to, win more and to, blossom more than she is on Raw. So that's my first trade, Natalya to Raw for Emma. Next person going over to SmackDown Live. This one a little bit of a surprise. This is someone who was really just got out of a low card feud, but I was really impressed with his new character change, and I know that he's probably bringing back a side of him from the old days, or years and years ago, since this guy is a veteran. If not, then this guy probably is going to do it for retiring a couple years. I really thought rumors were true about him retiring after WrestleMania 31, but that did not happen. And I'm talking about Goldust. Trade Sin Cara back to Raw and put Goldust on SmackDown. I don't know about you guys, but the final match that they had, Goldust and R-Truth had after the Golden Truth split, I'll admit it was a really boring match, but the promos that Goldust was kind of in those director chair promos. Wait a minute. Let me do a little imitation here. R-Truth thinks he can sit in my director's chair? Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Gone with the Wind, 1936, or whatever it was, or 1939. They say imitation is, I can't remember the line. Crap, whatever. But no, I was really digging those promos, and it really got me more invested in Goldust, especially. Goldust is definitely one of the more underrated talent on the roster, especially on Raw. And I think that he does deserve another one more mid-card push, maybe for the United States Championship if he goes over to SmackDown. And I feel like that, if he goes on to SmackDown where there's not as much star power on there, he could get the opportunity and become more credible, hopefully better than how Jinder Mahal is. Again, I don't mean the crap on Jinder Mahal. I mean, I'll give it to him. He's done the best he can with his push of the WWE Championship. They just still haven't quite done enough for me, or just still feels too soon. So it's like it's an average run for him, but it's like I feel like that Gold Dust list can come over, and like he's someone that people can get behind, even though he's a heel. Oh, my leg bumped the button that lowers my chair. I'm sorry. Kind of a weird day today. But anyways, I think that if he can come over to SmackDown, I think he can take advantage of the opportunity and get some more TV time and get like one last, mid card push before he retires. So trade Sin Cara to Raw for Goldust and either put Sin Cara back together with Kalisto or put both Sin Cara and Kalisto in the Cruiserweight division. So that's that. The next pick I have to go from Raw to SmackDown Live would be a tag team. Though before I had the Usos going to Raw, I think if there's any tag team on Raw that just needs fresh opponents, well, besides the New Day, because they had a terrible feud with them last year, and hopefully they will, be able to feud with guys like, Breezango or the Hype Brothers stay together, or if anybody else comes up. At least, I feel like they would probably get better writing and maybe be a reset button under a feud with the New Day also. Maybe it'll be written better. But I'm talking about Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows of the Club, a legendary tag team from Japan that just really has been getting buried since they came over to WWE. I mean, at first they started off really strong with their feud with the Usos when they first came over. And then they were still looking dominating. And then, of course, when they teamed them up with AJ Styles and got the Club together, they were great. And then once they split him and AJ up in the draft last year, they put them on Raw and AJ on SmackDown. Things just went downhill for them. Their feud with the New Day, I think, was probably when they should have won the tag titles. Even though, again, I'm completely fine the New Day keeping the tag titles till Roadblock ended the line like they did and breaking Demolition's record. It was well-deserved for the New Day after the horrible start they got with their stable. But that was when the iron was hot for the Club. I feel like that the Club needed the tag titles at that time more than the New Day did. But the comedy aspect they did, and then the Club has never recovered. They won the titles off of Sheamus and Cesaro at the Royal Rumble kickoff show. But as tag champions, they were probably the worst tag champions I have ever seen because they just did nothing but lose. And then any match that they would win would be by disqualification or anything. It was just crap. And now, ever since they dropped the tag titles, they're pretty much jokes right now. Like, I can't see them and Balor teaming up to form the Balor Club, as, been rumored at times. So I'd say maybe, despite AJ being a face right now, I don't know, maybe you want to turn the Club face. I'm not sure. I still can't really see them as face. I think they're much better. They're meant to be heels, but I think they need just a fresh environment, be under new creative, and of course, despite, rumors about Road Dogg taking over as head writer on SmackDown, but Ryan Ward has getting back into his seat. We'll see what happens there. But I think if any tag team needs to move over to SmackDown Live, it is the Club. Number 4, the last person I think is going to switch over from Raw to SmackDown was someone who was actually moved over to Raw back before WrestleMania. And I think it was just a huge mistake because, it's funny though, like this guy has still gotten a couple of victories as he won his pointless feud with Seth Rollins, and I was entering a feud with Finn Balor. That's Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt was doing great on SmackDown Live right before he dropped the title to Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Actually, his feud with Randy Orton throughout the year was good. It got Bray Wyatt the tag titles on SmackDown, the WWE Championship. But then as soon as they burned the Wyatt family compound down, it's like the whole feud just burned down because that's when it made obvious that, they were just setting up, Randy Orton to be like that hero to defeat Bray Wyatt. And Randy Orton did not need that story. He did not need the WWE Championship. He did not need to be the one to, just slow down Bray Wyatt's push yet again. So I really feel that putting Bray Wyatt back on Raw and on a show that has like all 3 members of the Shield, which he did overcome Seth Rollins, and all these other guys, I feel like that he's not going to be having a chance to at least be the dominant heel he was. And instead, he could go over to SmackDown Live and just pick up where he left off before Randy Orton burned down his Wyatt family compound. Feud with maybe his former partners, Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, even though if they would book Bray Wyatt right, I would love to see him and Braun Strowman go at it on Raw. But I feel like that, the best move for Bray Wyatt's career is just to put him back on SmackDown Live. I just don't feel safe with Bray Wyatt at all on Raw. So the 4 people I think who are going to move over from Raw to SmackDown are Emma, Goldust, The Club, and Bray Wyatt. So who from NXT do I think is going to be on SmackDown? Well, as I said before when I revealed about Asuka being on Raw, at first I had this person on Raw because I wanted someone from NXT to be drafted to both brands. But again, as I said, Asuka I felt was needed more on Raw because the women's division on Raw needs some more star power because everybody else is just a complete joke. And the one that again I could see succeeding more if you put them on SmackDown was Emma. She was someone I think that could really benefit from the SmackDown. And this person I had on Raw at first, but then I felt that he would have been all right on Raw. But I felt if you put him on SmackDown, though, despite the fact that he would be on the same show as Shinsuke Nakamura, and he just had a feud with Nakamura not too long ago, I felt that that at least he would add more star power to SmackDown. Here's some possibilities, though. And this person, though, by the way, is the glorious Bobby Roode. Now, I know that I really felt at the beginning of the year, Bobby Roode would probably be ready to be brought up to the main roster, probably by the Royal Rumble. That's when I think he'll probably be brought up. However, though, I'm starting to have second thoughts. I think Bobby Roode could be brought up sooner, and he'll be all right. 1, he's 40 years old, I believe. So he doesn't have that much time left. So, 2, he's been in NXT for a year now. Because he started last year, his first match, I believe, it was at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2 against Andrade Cien Almas. And then he feuded with Ty Dillinger, which that's a feud also that you can bring back up on SmackDown and help get Ty Dillinger going. Is him and Bobby Roode up on SmackDown Live. You can get, if you want to get Ty Dillinger going, get some momentum again. Putting back in that feud with Bobby Roode. They had a glorious match at NXT TakeOver Toronto last year. Him and Nakamura, I say to keep them away from each other for a while, and also they had okay matches, but not the best matches. I still think they quite meshed together. Like, who else could he feud? AJ Styles, he got match AJ Styles. If John Cena, is going back and forth, if they want to put Bobby Roode over, he can feud with him. Eventually, maybe him and Kevin Owens can go at it. Who knows? But I feel like that Bobby Roode would definitely bring a lot more star power to SmackDown Live if you put him there. So that's why, I mean, if he comes up and he goes to Raw, okay, I'd be okay with it. But I feel like that, Asuka would be better off going to Raw, and Bobby would be able to go up to SmackDown Live. So once again, the 5 people who I think are going to be put on SmackDown Live in a post-Superstar Shakeup after SummerSlam would be Emma, Goldust, The Club, Bray Wyatt, and Bobby Roode. Now let's get to some kind of more negative stuff, because we're going to people who are going to be switched around or being called up. Now we're going to people who could be demoted back down to NXT, and some of these people, it could be for the better, though. So this could be a positive, could be a way to help them out, reinvent themselves, make Vince want them to be brought back up, even though anymore all the people who are brought up to the main roster of NXT just get destroyed by Vince McMahon. These are people who are going to be under Triple H's right, and at least they'll be interesting. They'll at least have something people can remember them by. So let's go down to NXT. Now there's some people who, most of these people have been either around for a while up on the main roster, or I try not to put anybody down who I felt has just got here, but there are people that I feel that it's just there's one person that only just got here recently that I feel should go down to NXT. But here's a few people that were honorable mentions, but I did put them on the list. Like Emma's one person. I feel that if Emma doesn't go to SmackDown Live, she should go down to NXT, but she's not on my list. Lana's someone else who people think that should be sent down to NXT. I mean, I kind of agree, but at the same time, I don't know. I feel like that Lana does have something going for her up here. They're teaming her with Tamina, but it seems like, her and Tamina are having some tensions. And I think that what they need to do is just they need to turn Lana face. Lana's come up out as a wrestler now saying, I'm going to be the Ravishing Champion, blah, blah, blah. And she's looked like a complete joke. But I feel like if you can turn her face and make her like an ultimate underdog, I feel it would work because people are already behind Lana. I mean, people are behind, Emma too, but I feel like, Lana is someone who could maybe use a trip down to NXT, but I feel like if you turn her face, she'd be okay. So that's why Lana's on my list. I know some people thought Ty Dillinger maybe could go back down since he's not doing much time on SmackDown. He's starting to get some TV time. Let's see where it goes first, and then maybe a little further down the line if it's not working out, then put him back down on NXT. And same with Aiden English. I thought Aiden English was someone I thought was going to be released after his partner Simon Gotch was released. They're no longer the Vaudevillains. But it looks like they are trying to do something with him as well. So I'd say you can keep him up here as well. So those are the honorable mentions, but people I think will be all right, Sam, on the main roster. So who's going down at NXT and everything? The first one is someone who just recently came along, but he's just there, but it's just, I feel like they need to do more than what they're doing for him to succeed. I feel like maybe a trip down at NXT for a while could help him out, and that is Mike Kanellis. Here's a question that a lot of people are asking. Why are we supposed to hate Mike and Maria Kanellis? Because they're in love? I mean, the thing is, yeah, they're a little, snotty about their love, and yeah, they just do too much in public, all this PDA. And yes, I understand how people can get annoyed by that and not like them. But why should we hate them because they're in love? It doesn't quite make sense. And his in-ring skills are all right, but I just feel like, to develop more of a character, not just being there saying, we're in love, blah, 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 and trying to be in the next power couple, which, I mean, it could work, but I don't know. I feel like, they could use some work. I know Vince is not too keen on them, so I'd say maybe send them back down to NXT and give them some time to, figure things out before coming back up. So that's first person. And these are in order from 5 to 1, who I think really, even though my number 1 kind of isn't really a number 1, it's only because of, it has to do with a couple other people on this list. I'll get to them. Number 4, who I think needs to go back down to NXT, is Enzo Amore. Now, here's the thing. I'd be okay if Enzo and Big Show become a tag team, because it would make sense in the storyline of Enzo proving to Big Cass that, yes, he can win tag team gold with someone, even if it's Big Show, or if he goes on to NXT and teams with somebody else. I think Enzo is good with a tag team partner or as a manager, but I can't see him as a singles competitor on the main roster right now. There have been rumors of putting him on 205 Live. I don't think they should do that. I don't see Enzo as a cruiserweight, really. He's just just a little hyper guy who just likes to beat people up when they get in his way. I just don't see him as a high flyer. So I really don't think Enzo should go to 205 Live. I can see him seeing another tag team partner eventually someday. Him and Big Cass getting back together. But if not, if he wants to keep a singles competitor, put him back down on NXT and help him works on some things. I know Triple H always fights for him because he's high on him and Big Cass. I feel like he would be able to work something out with Triple H. So that's why I feel Enzo Amore should go back to NXT. Number 3 is someone else. Is someone who I think was called to NXT way too early, and they were pretty much things could have been all right if their original partner didn't get hurt, but then they put her with Charlotte, and it wasn't quite working. And then it wasn't making sense. One moment they were fighting, and one moment that Dana was out. It's Dana Brooke. One moment Dana was out there, protecting Charlotte, and the next moment she wasn't out there. It just didn't quite make sense. They turned her face. They've done absolutely nothing with her. That is Dana Brooke. I feel like that she was just called up from NXT way too soon. She has potential, but it's just not working out for her on Raw right now. Maybe put her on SmackDown, possibly, but I feel like, if anybody who I think is more likely to succeed on SmackDown, it would be her former partner, Emma. But I think put Dana Brooke down on NXT, let her work on a few things, bring her back up in maybe a year and a half. I think it would help her a lot, and she would be much better coming up to the main roster. So Dana Brooke, well, technically Dana Brooke is my number 2, but I had to make Dana Brooke number 3 because my number 1 has somebody to do with both Dana Brooke and my number 2, Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews, like Dana Brooke. Well, Apollo Crews is never somebody's protege, But Apollo Crews is the guy who came over with a good history in Ring of Honor. I mean, I didn't really watch much of him in the Ring of Honor. He was someone else that was called up way too early because I think he only debuted at NXT Takeover Brooklyn, the first one in 2015, and he was already up on the main roster the night after WrestleMania. I mean, like they brought up that night, they brought up Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews. They brought up the Vaudevillains. I believe that's it. But like, you know, they couldn't. Apollo Crews had so much more to offer down at NXT. He should have been an NXT champion before he got up to here. And it didn't. I thought he didn't have quite enough time to allow people to let him get to know him. He had a feud with Tyler Breeze, I believe. He also had a feud with Baron Corbin, which it was all right. But I do remember seeing his matches at NXT Takeover Brooklyn and at a live event in Pittsburgh. I remember seeing it just like that him and Corbin didn't really display that much chemistry. I feel like that NXT didn't allow him to, you know, him to like develop a character much on NXT, which is what's caused him to suffer on the main roster. I mean, when he was drafted to SmackDown last summer, I thought he was gonna really benefit from that, but he didn't do much besides a feud with Kurt Hawkins. And then he was involved in a 2-on-1 handicap feud with Dolph Ziggler and Kalisto. He's come over to Raw. At first, I was interested in this whole Titus brand thing they're doing with him and Titus O'Neil. I thought they're maybe going to turn Apollo Crews heel and do something different with him. But then now they got, you know, Akira Tozawa involved in it, which that's been all right. I'd say Akira Tozawa and Titus O'Neil, but like Apollo Crews and Titus O'Neil has kind of just been there. And then also the other night, I saw a follow-up thing on Raw. Apparently, Titus is trying to recruit Dana Brooke, which is why my number one for people going back to NXT is Titus O'Neil, because if Apollo Crews and Dana Brooke go down and they want to do something with them, you're going to have to put Titus back down at NXT. And plus, also, I couldn't really think of someone else who I really think needs to go back down to NXT. But it would make sense for Titus to go down if he wants to, you know, work with Dana Brooke and Apollo Crews. So I think Titus has shown a lot of good potential as a manager. I think him and Akira Tozawa have done well together. It's helped you get a little more in Akira Tozawa and made you want to see him win at SummerSlam, which I would be completely cool with because I think Neville has had a long enough title reign. He's done really well as Cruiserweight champion. And Akira Tozawa or Cedric Alexander, I think, are the right ones to pass on the Cruiserweight championship from Neville. But Titus O'Neil should go down to NXT as well if Apollo Crews and Dana Brooke go down. Because, you know, Akira Tozawa, yeah, he may appear on Raw, but I think Titus would, you know, go down to NXT, though, just so he can still continue working with Apollo Crews and Dana Brooke and just see, you know, where it goes from there. We'll see. So my 5 main roster wrestlers or superstars, you can't say wrestlers according to Vince, wrestlers, belt, briefcase, what else? All these words. You know, here's the thing about me. I am not a guy that likes to push people's buttons, but Vince McMahon, with how he is with his technicalities of some things you're not allowed to say this word or that word, it just makes me want to push his buttons so bad. And that's kind of mean of me saying, but it's the truth. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. But again, my top five people who I think should go down to NXT are, well, I'll put Titus O'Neil number 5, then Mike Kanellis, Enzo Amore, Dana Brooke, and Apollo Crews. They should be any of those 5 should go back down to NXT. Now, as far as my top 5 releases, here are 5 people who I can see getting released sometime soon. And speaking of which, also, I wanted to announce also, well, that today it was revealed that Eva Marie and WWE have finally decided to part ways. I think it's what's best for Eva Marie. We haven't seen her since right before SummerSlam last year, when she was suspended for 30 days for violating WWE wellness policy, because 2016 was the year of suspensions, and most of them came around the same time. But after suspension was over, she was focusing more on, you know, her movie career and her modeling career as well. And I think that it's working out better for her that way than WWE, because in WWE, she would just be that, you know, fashion superstar who doesn't really wrestle much, but we're here to watch wrestling. So I wish Eva Marie the best. I think this is a good move for her career, be able to focus more on stuff that she's definitely more passionate about and more recognizable for. So I wish Eva Marie the best of luck. But my 5 top 5 wrestlers. Well, these are just pretty much in alphabetical order. The first one I think could be released anytime soon is Alicia Fox. I'm sorry, what has really Alicia Fox done in WWE much? She did have a run or two with the Divas Championship years ago. Like, she has people. I always forget how long that Alicia Fox has been around, but other than that, she really hasn't really done that much, honestly. And anytime she comes on my TV, I just want to go, ugh. She just got out of that terrible, annoying feud with involving her and Noam Dar pairing together, because Vince McMahon likes the Scottish accent of Noam Dar saying Alicia Fox, which you all know why he enjoys hearing that. It sounds like he's saying something else. A word begins with an F and ends in a UCK. Fire truck. But that feud was so boring. Now they're doing nothing with Alicia. She's not even really a wrestler anymore, it seems. She's just, another love interest pretty much. Well, we haven't seen her since the I Quit match between Noam Dar and Cedric Alexander when Dar broke up with Alicia. So maybe I just feel like, like Alicia could be doing better things rather than being around WWE. So I think Alicia Fox is going to get released sometime soon. The next is a tag team. Now, there are 2 tag teams I feel that are on the verge of getting released. One more likely than the other one. The one that I didn't put on the list is the Ascension, but I did feel like if this tag team wasn't, closer to being released from the rumors, it sounded like they haven't been even seen on SmackDown Live in months, despite they gave them a little bit of a new look. They changed their name. They gave them a little bit of a new theme song, and they had a little more of an aggressive attitude. I thought that maybe they could have, made a run for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, but they haven't seen for a while. I think one of them did request for their release, but that both of them might be heading out the door. But we'll have to wait and see. But that's the Colognes, Epico and Primo Colon, formerly known as the Shining Stars. Like, both them and the Ascension, they're jobbers. Like, they have nothing. Well, the Ascension's more so jobbers, I feel, than the Colognes. The Colognes actually, they were starting to pick up some momentum when they first came over to SmackDown Live, but then they've just stopped. They've disappeared. The Ascension, at least, like they're somehow being used in this whole angle with the Fashion Files, the Fashion Police trying to figure out this case of who's been, attacking them from behind, who attacked their office and trashed it. But from the rumors, it sounds like the Colognes are more likely to get released over the Ascension. So if I had to pick one of those 2, I'd say the Colognes. The next person who I think his days are very limited, even though there are rumors that he is due back soon after being out for like 6 months due to an elbow injury, that's Darren Young. Last year, they started up that whole thing with, let's make Darren Young great again with Bob Backlund. I was on board with it at first. And then he won an Intercontinental title shot after, 2 people knocked themselves out of the ring in a battle royal at once. So he didn't really win it. He just sat there and, people just eliminated themselves. And then the match with him and The Miz at Battleground, the only lowest part of 2016's Battleground, 2017's Battleground. Let's not talk about that. But after that, the match between him and Miz at Battleground was just awful. Ended in a double countout. And then he went over to Raw, and he started this pointless feud with his former tag team partner from the Primetime Players, Titus O'Neil, and that didn't work out. That was just atrocious. And the problem was, I felt, was that they should have had Darren Young turn heel and Titus O'Neil remained as the babyface. That didn't happen, and he got injured, and now he's just another jobber. And I just feel like he's not really recovered well at all. I mean, he was tag team champions with Titus O'Neil in 2015 for a couple of months in the summer when they put the Primetime Players back together. But other than that, what has Darren Young really done? I just feel like his days in WWE are really numbered, and I think sometime by the end of the year we will see Darren Young be released from the WWE. Next, we have Mark Henry. Mark Henry's rarely around on WWE anymore. Even when they are around, he's supposed to look like this big monster, the world's strongest man. Well, Mark Henry hasn't really had the best career in WWE. He's been treated like a joke at the beginning. They finally gave him an aggressive run in 2011. He won the World Heavyweight Championship. Then he got hurt, and that's when Daniel Bryan cashed in Money in the Bank after Big Show won a title off Mark Henry. But he really hasn't done too much on either, honestly. And anytime he's out there, he feels like he's just a jobber. He's just like a world's strongest man trying to help put someone over. He looks like just a joke. They don't make him look legit, and they barely used him. Also, I mean, they only used him like a couple times. He was once in the Tussle of Texas squash match against Tyson. That was useless. He was in the Royal Rumble this year because he is from Silsbee, Texas, not too far from San Antonio and the Alamo Dome, wherever the Royal Rumble was at this year. So I feel like Mark Henry's kind of just sitting around. I mean, he might be doing some stuff behind the scenes at WWE, but I feel like his days as a wrestler are pretty much over for the most part. So I think Mark Henry could be released as well coming up soon. And finally, someone else who I hate to say this, but I kind of hope gets released because I just can't stand this guy. I just can't stand him. I tried getting behind him. We just talked about him earlier in this video when we talked about someone getting moved over to SmackDown. Try to show some love and not hate for R-Truth. Why is R-Truth still around? Like, what has he done in his career? What's he been known for? Yes, he was tag team champions with Kofi Kingston at one point. Yes, they gave him a little bit of a heel push, even though he didn't really get much in 2011. He got a WWE title shot at Capital Punishment. That was terrible. Awesome Truth was all right, but what it led to was just terrible. And then I believe a suspension, I think, put a halt to that. He was suspended for a month. He came back and he turned face again. And he was okay in the director's chair feud with Goldust, but then I just don't know. I can't get behind R-Truth. I'm sorry. I don't know why he's still here. He's up there in age. He's like, what, 45? Somewhere in his mid-40s, I think. I just don't see anything really for R-Truth at all in WWE anytime soon. Again, the Golden Truth just did not work out. It was terrible. I think R-Truth just needs to go. Please. R-Truth will be released, hopefully soon. So my 5 wrestlers who I think will be released soon are Alicia Fox, the Colognes, Darren Young, Mark Henry, and R-Truth. And with that is pretty much it. That is my predictions for the post-SummerSlam Superstar Shakeup if it happens. I mentioned people who I think are going from Raw to SmackDown, SmackDown to Raw, who are going to be going down to NXT, and who could probably be getting released. And for those of you who tuned in late or watching the video again, just to recap, so who I think is going to be going to Raw? Natalya, Sin Cara, the Usos, Dolph Ziggler, and Asuka. Who's going to SmackDown? Emma, Goldust, The Club, Bray Wyatt, Bobby Roode. Who's going down to NXT? Titus O'Neil, Mike Kanellis, Enzo Amore, Dana Brooke, and Apollo Crews. And who do I think is going to be released? Alicia Fox, the Colognes, Darren Young, Mark Henry, and R-Truth. Now, when I was talking about people who I think will get released, I'm not talking about people who I think should go somewhere else. I may do a video response to the last guy's video of the top 5 wrestlers who should leave WWE and go somewhere else because they'll probably get a lot more over than they are here. And pull Cody Rhodes, who's doing awesome in ROH, and anywhere else he's been working since he left WWE. But I'll do that sometime soon. So that is it, guys. Again, what are your thoughts on the possibility of another Superstar Shakeup? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section as well. Share with your predictions of who you think is going to go to Raw, who's going to go to SmackDown, who could be called up from NXT, who could be sent down to NXT, who could be released. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. And please click that like and subscribe button for more content coming to this channel. Check out my predicted match card for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. Check out my my recent up-to-date WWE SummerSlam predicted match card as well. And check out my Raw, SmackDown, NXT reviews from this past week as well. Stay tuned, as the next video coming will most likely be Monday night when I review Monday Night Raw. And that is it, guys. Until then, I will see you all later. Have a good Friday night.